One of Nigeria's most reputed professional engineering consulting firm, T Otis Engineering Limited, established in 1987 with the vision to be the leading and most trusted engineering firm in Nigeria and beyond, a specialist in project management and technical services in the heavy industrial and infrastructure sector like power generation, transmission and distribution, machine tools, iron and steel, oil and gas, petrochemicals, automobile manufacturing and many other auxiliary engineering sectors.
Somehow I trace my foray into consulting engineering to the kind of advertisements that used to appear in the Nigerian Engineer, the Journal of the Nigerian Society of Engineers, which we came in contact with in the library of the Faculty of Engineering in the University of Nigeria. And we would go there to read in the night when the main library had closed. And by the time we would have done some 1 hour or more of reading, we would try to relax a bit. And sometimes that relaxation was by way of flipping through the copies of the Nigerian Engineer Journal that was on display in the library. Of course, much of what was contained in the journal didn't make so much sense to us because, they were quite advanced, quite academic. So the more interesting part of the journal was those call card type of adverts for engineering companies. And then you would see ABC Associates or XYZ and Partners, consulting engineers, and they would indicate whether they were highway engineers or they were industrial, mechanical, and electrical engineers or stuff like that. And so that's what actually made me interested in finding out what do these consulting engineers do. And in trying to find that out, we even had to make visits to Lagos to search out the addresses on those places to try and satisfy our inquisitiveness, And that somehow paid off because we were quite thrilled at what we found out visiting those consulting engineering firms in the mid-70s. I would say the country was really quite serious in the utilization of the consulting engineers at the time. They were quite well set up and had what I would consider adequate patronage and assurance and guarantee of workload. And so on return to the campus, one was quite excited about the prospects of ending up one day as a consulting engineer.
Having successfully completed projects in virtually all the various sectors in the engineering value chain, T Otis Engineering remains the leading light in the engineering sector in Nigeria with strong and tested human capital with diverse experience in the sector.
On the various services they have rendered, they have achieved the set goals for such projects. If we take, for example, training, capacity building, and the provide the instruction and teaching of some personnel, engineers, technologists, technicians, and they perform that and have positively affected the upgrading of the skills of those persons. That is the achievement you expect in that. If it is in the area of valuation of assets of a company, by the time you have performed that professionally, carefully estimating the cost of such machinery and equipment and other assets, determining the depreciation, physical depreciation, functional obsolescence, technological obsolescence, and the rest of them, and be able to now determine what value should be placed on that. And you have done that, and you've reviewed that with the client, and they accept, that. That also is an accomplishment. It's the full achievement on its own. If it is a project for rehabilitating an existing plant or process unit, and you have managed that and achieved the set goals of the rehabilitation project, that also is a complete achievement. And if it is a completely new outfit, new unit or plant that is going to be developed, by the time you go through the conceptualization, the engineering review, and the project management over the duration of the project up to the completion. Once that is done and there is commissioning and the plant begins to operate, that also is the complete scope of achievement that is expected for such, and so on and so forth.
Otis Engineering primarily is an engineering and project management consultancy firm. Well, now we have a department that does construction. Now moved into engineering, procurement, and construction. I believe you must have heard of the National Integrated Power Project, NIPP. Otis Engineering, in joint venture with Lamia International, a German firm, was the design and project management consultant for that program. It's a very elaborate program that consisted of the construction of 10 new power plants. Egbema, Bahrain, Calabar, Geregu, Omotosho, Omok, and so on. Mainly in the Niger Delta, but they are like Geregu is in Kogi State. Omotosho and Olonshogo are in Ogun and Ondo states.
So Otis Engineering was and I mean in JV with Lamia, were the design and project management consultants, and it had power generation aspects. There was also transmission lines and substations, then distribution lines and substations. I told you the generation plants are 10 in number, new power plants. Then the transmission substations and lines are about 110, including the teleprotection and telecoms lot that connects about 90 of the power plants and the substations, that enables the power plants and the substations to communicate with each other. Then the distribution projects are the ones, the transmission projects are the ones that enable you to wheel the power that is generated. You can generate the power from anywhere. For example, at Egbema, and then you want to use the power in Maiduguri. So you need these transmission lines and the substations. Then distribution lines and substations are the ones that enable the power to be taken to various homes and industries where they are used. Otis designed and managed these projects, and of course, the projects have been successfully completed.
T Otis Engineering Limited, leading and recognized independent firm of consultants to the federal government of Nigeria and other agencies, including the Ministries of Power, Works and Housing, Petroleum Resources, Mine and Steel Development, and Trade and Investment, and major regulatory agencies, put this forward-looking and highly resourceful firm in good stead to make meaningful contribution to the nation's building.
Helped them to commission some sandblasting equipment they had, which they really needed for the maintenance of the sheet piles at the harbor. And from there, one thing led to the other. The PTI, the Petroleum Training Institute, where they also retained us to carry out training on valve technology. So this kind of helped to, of course, boost our confidence, and we, within a year, got retained to carry out BITS evaluation for the Federal Ministry of Industries on the completion proposal submitted by international EPC contractors for the Iwope paper mill, pulp and paper mill. And shortly after that, we had to do a similar activity on the expansion proposals for the NAFCON, the nitrogenous fertilizer company in One. And we carried out these activities to the admiration of the clients, with all of them saying they didn't know Nigerians could do that, because particularly the exercise in a Petroleum Training Institute came immediately after the SAP introduction, SAP, Structural Adjustment Program, which led to the devaluation of the Naira. And so the foreign consultant that was to have been brought in by PTI to handle that course could not come because they couldn't raise the funds at the new rates of the dollar to Naira. And so they had to looked for an indigenous company that could do the same thing within the budget they had, and we fitted the bill. And we're happy, by the grace of God, we acquitted ourselves very creditably and set really some good standards in training on valves and valves technology. And from there, we got involved in activities that had to do with the valuation of assets. The type of assets whereby you needed engineering knowledge and experience to be able to estimate the worth of such assets. And we in fact managed the exercise for the evaluation of all the assets of the Delta Steel Company. And later, a few years after, we also were returned to value the assets of the Ebwe power plant, then belonging to NEPA. And we continued and eventually got into project management of power plants, rehabilitation, and the construction of new power plants, leading eventually to our competitively winning the bid jointly with a German firm for the design and management of 7 medium-sized power stations in the Niger Delta area.
It's a pilot project. It's the first of its kind in Nigeria, in fact, first of its kind in West Africa, where you produce electricity through wind. So it's a novel and laudable project. And also in NIPP, where we have power plants in various locations in Nigeria. And even the ongoing home solar energy, whereby areas or communities that are not linked to the national grid have the opportunity to have power for domestic goods and medium-sized companies. So mostly in the north, like we have such projects in Katsina, in Bauchi, in Kano. So Otis, as a consultant, is also overseeing such projects. If you come to Napton, we have hybrid activity, hybrid operation, where we have wind and solar hybrid project that is used to be training an engineer in car engine. So Otis is part of that project. And so many other projects, if I continue naming them, time will fail me.
Basking in the euphoria of its success over the years, which has seen the firm receive several awards from diverse sectors and organizations worldwide, which is testimony to its strong and firm footing in the engineering sector in Nigeria and globally. T Otis Engineering consistently delivers in any undertakings. No wonder T Otis Engineering Limited, the specialist in various engineering fields, valuation, classification, and scientific discipline, is able to undertake multidisciplinary projects in different sectors of the economy and the engineering sector.
We have also forayed into renewable energy projects, being the first consulting or the consulting engineers on the first wind farm in Nigeria and also in West Africa, the wind farm in Katsina. We shortly after starting on that, had to do feasibility studies on the coastal wind farm in a place called Ibukoda in Ondo State, which a wind farm that we believe could harvest over 50 megawatts. And we have done feasibility studies for some small hydropower plants in Ivo in Ebonyi State, Dada in Enugu State, and Zobe in Katsina State. Even at a point, we had to do engineering, procurement, and construction of a hybrid wind and solar plant, which is being used for demonstration purposes by the National Power Training Institute in Kainji. We completed that. We did the engineering of the project, the procurement of the equipment and materials, machinery that will be used, and the installation and commissioning of that. The official commissioning, of course, was done by the minister in 2014.
The versatility and boldness of the team at T Otis Engineering Limited and the firm the joint design and management consultant on one of the biggest ever conceived infrastructural development projects in the power sector in the world under the auspices of the National Integrated Power Project (NIPP), which involved the construction of 10 medium-sized power stations mainly in the Niger Delta region with other auxiliary services as part of the project component.
And eventually got into project management of power plants, rehabilitation, and the construction of new power plants, leading eventually to our competitively winning the bid jointly with a German firm for the design and management of 7 medium-sized power stations in the Niger Delta area. A project which, when we got in and began to configure, conceptualize and configure the project, it developed into ultimately 10 power plants, 120 transmission lines and substations, both expansion and new, 1,230 distribution lines and substations, teleprotection and telecommunications networking in 93 sites, and 20 gas pipelines and metering stations. So that was what, of course, was Christian, the National Integrated Power Project, NIPP. Yes, and we were happy that we took responsibility in that joint venture of the distribution activities and also the gas pipelines and the metering station projects, while giving support to our partner on the generation projects and the transmission projects.
When you are talking about maybe the confidence in indigenous firms to perform or to undertake projects, I think this company have demonstrated that, you know, Africans can do. The black people can also do projects and deliver. It's not all about calling the white people all the time, because engineering, I think, is the same. The knowledge is open source. What the white people learn in engineering is basically the same thing. So just kind of an issue of giving the black people opportunity to implement, to undertake projects, and as well, we also having the confidence, the can-do spirit that if we try, we can do it. And of course, it has been proven in the NIPP, in the Katsina wind farms. These are projects that are working.
With a team that comprises experienced engineering consultants, technicians, scientists in a wide range of engineering services, and backed by the philosophy of dedication to providing high-quality engineering services to clients in various sectors of the service offering, T Otis Engineering Limited is Nigeria's pride and gift to the engineering world.
Well, if I am able to bring about the beginning of the harmonization of the standards in various engineering aspects, I think I would have considered my job well done, because one of the fruits from the harmonization of these standards is that it will convert West Africa into a big market.
Is a name that is common in the engineering field. So it's a name that sells. It's a name you will be glad to be associated with.
When you get close to him also, you learn that he's somebody that likes, he's a process person. He likes things to be done according to standards. And of course, he's also very thorough. He's very thorough. That's what I think engineering to an extent is all about. It's all about being precise. It's about precision. So he emphasizes it, and even if he doesn't tell you, by your from what you can deduce around him, you know that this is what is expected of you. So most of us are able to kind of imbibe that, to copy it and imbibe it in our daily work, so that any assignment given to us, we kind of do it to the best of our ability. We don't leave anything out, you know. We go very detailed in all the jobs that were given.
He's so knowledgeable in many aspects of engineering and other sectors. You will have an idea of what I'm talking about if you enter our library. You will find that we have materials on virtually every areas, including humanities, religion, anything, philosophy. Of course, the center of the collection is engineering.